All right, it's 10 a.m. everybody. Time to get started. Want to thank you as usual for coming to today's advisory committee meeting, especially our members. It's not a huge time commitment, but it is a commitment, and really appreciate your time, energy, and enthusiasm for this. We are conducting this WebEx meeting with our cameras turned on. At least I am. You don't have to if you don't want to. For our members, a lot of times we have issues with video feed. So as always, I have my fingers crossed that this works out seamlessly and no one will have any issues at all. However, that is usually not realistic. So especially somehow with me, I think because my office is in the corner of the building, a lot of times my video and audio feed get a little sketchy. So if that happens, feel free to jump in and let me know that I'm cutting out, and I'll address that issue right away. First order of business this morning, as always, is to call this meeting to order. So this meeting is now called to order. We will be meeting from 10 a.m. until completion of all agenda items. Our first agenda item is our roll call, and we have new staff, and our policy analyst, Carrie Ortman, will be calling roll this morning. Carrie, can you do roll call, please?
Good morning. Phil Shashray,
Present.
Anton Farmby.
Present. Good morning.
Good morning. Frank Huntington,
Present.
Mark Miller.
Hi, good morning.
Good
Present.
morning. Thank you. Darren Morgan. Nancy Murish. Eli Owen.
Present.
Stanton Perez.
Present.
Leon Scroggins.
Present.
Chris Sayers. Glenn Younger.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Fabulous. All right, let's just dive right into it then. I just want to make sure, however, that we have our representative from exec promoted. Judy, yes, okay, I see her as a presenter now. Okay. All right, moving on to the next order of business is the review and approval of our meeting minutes from our last meeting on August 18th, 2022. Does anybody have any questions or issues regarding those minutes? Eli Owen was kind enough to go through them and make some grammatical changes and edits. Appreciate that. It's nice to know that we have at least one person who reads them. So appreciate you. That was very helpful. And we, because we just got those edited, and they are minor technical edits, but I did have Carrie, I asked her to email them around again to everybody, but I did skim through them, and there are no substantive issues. But if you want, I can go through all of the changes, or we can take a vote. So what I will do is ask if anybody has any questions on the edited minutes.
Motion to approve, Chief.
Second.
Anton Farmby, I second.
All right, okay. So it has been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from the August 18th, 2022 meeting. Carrie, do you mind calling the roll on that?
The motion to approve the minutes. Can I please reaffirm who made that motion?
I'm sorry, it was Frank Huntington. I forgot to mention my name.
Thank you. I'm still learning your voices. With a second by Anton Farmby. Oh, yes. Mr. Shashry?
Yes.
Mr. Farmby?
Aye.
Mr. Huntington?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Morgan? Ms. Murish? Mr. Owen?
Aye.
Mr. Perez?
Aye.
Mr. Sayers? Mr. Scroggins?
Aye.
And Mr. Younger.
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right, thank you, Carrie. Moving on to our next agenda item, which is the update from the Department of Consumer Affairs Executive Office. We are lucky to have Judy, and I'm sorry if I mangle your last name, Judy Bucciarelli from our Board and Bureau Relations Office here today to give the update. Welcome, Judy.
Lynn, can you hear me?
Yep, can hear you loud and clear.
Perfect. Okay, I didn't know if I needed to unmute myself.
Yeah.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Judy Bucciarelli, and I work in the Consumer Affairs Executive Office. And I am presenting the DCA update today. So I'd like to thank you for allowing me the opportunity to provide the update. So if we're ready, I'll run through my topics. The first item is new DCA staff. We are very excited to announce that the governor recently appointed leaders to DCA's Board and Bureau Relations team. Melissa Gear is serving as DCA's new Deputy Director of Board and Bureau Relations, and she joined the department on October 3rd. She brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to DCA. Previously served as the Chief Deputy Legislative Director at the Department of Insurance since 2014, and she has also served at the California State Teachers Retirement System, California Attorney General's Office, and the Legislative Analyst's Office. Beginning November 14th, Yvonne Durantes will serve as the new Assistant Deputy Director of Board and Bureau Relations. She has been serving as their Senior Emergency Services Coordinator at the California Governor's Office of Emergency Service since 2022 and a Policy Analyst and Task Force Coordinator since 2019. She was an Executive Fellow at Cal OES from 2018 to 2019. And we are very excited to have this new BBR team in place to serve and assist our boards and bureaus. Next topic is DCA Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Steering Committee. Director Kimberly Kirchmeyer established the department's first Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Steering Committee to guide the department in its equity strategy, initiatives, and action plans. The DEA committee held its first official kickoff meeting yesterday, November 9th. Strategic planning. In accordance with Governor Gavin Newsom's executive order, strategic plans in effect July 2023 and beyond must be developed or updated to more effectively advance equity and drive outcomes that increase opportunity for all. In response, DCA is revising its strategic planning processes to incorporate more inclusive public engagement, data analysis, and embedding diversity, equity, and inclusion into the strategic planning process. Over the coming months, the DEI committee will form the strategic planning processes. By March of 2023, DCA will begin implementing the revised processes and working with the boards in updating existing strategic plans or developing new strategic plans. Next topic is the Our Promise campaign. It's that time of year again, and DCA is excited to take part in Our Promise, California State Employees Giving at Work once more, and celebrate 65 years of caring for California. This year's Our Promise Vice Chair is Lourdes Castro Ramirez, Secretary of Business, Consumer Services, and Housing Agency, and our DCA Our Promise co-chairs are Chief Deputy Director Christine Lally and Deputy Director Melissa Gear. The campaign began on October 1st and will end on December 31st. The campaign allows Californians to donate to a nonprofit or nonprofits of their choice. With your assistance, DCA hopes to continue its tradition of generosity and caring for our communities through this year's campaign. Please assist us in spreading the word and encouraging all members and staff to make a one-time donation or donate online through Cal Employee Connect. California can be cared for as little as $5 per month. Next, I'll touch on in-person meeting guidelines and COVID-19 safety measures. Though legislation has passed allowing remote meetings through June 30th, 2023, we are reminding boards that choose to hold in-person meetings of safety measures, best practices, and recommendations for holding public meetings. When planning for upcoming meetings, please remember all board, bureau, members, and staff are expected to follow the state and local public health guidelines that apply in the area where meetings are held. CDPH released updated guidance for the use of face masks. Please refer to the guidance ahead of meetings to determine the appropriate masking approach for your meeting. If masks are recommended for your meeting location, please post face covering guidance signage at your meeting check-in or entrance. Next is board member travel. As travel begins to pick up, it is important to remember that state travel arrangements must be made through DCA's approved travel agency, Cal Travel Store, or Concur. All board, bureau members, and staff must use the most economical fares possible when traveling by air on official state business. Typically, this will be the Southwest Want to Get Away option. However, there may be additional charges if changes are made to a flight. Flight changes to date and time for personal convenience are not approved, and the traveler will be responsible for any associated charges. Additionally, AB 1887 prohibits state agencies, departments, boards, authorities, and commissions from traveling to states that are subject to California's travel ban. There are now 23 prohibited states, and the entire list of states can be viewed on the website of the Attorney General. Next is our partnership with State Controller's Office. DCA will partner with the State Controller's Office to share information with consumers and certain licensees about the Unclaimed Property Program. State law requires banks, insurance companies, corporations, and other entities to report and submit their customers' property to the State Controller's Office after a period of inactivity, generally 3 years. Certain DCA licensees will benefit from this partnership as it will educate them about their responsibility to report unclaimed property and assist with compliance. Additionally, the program is a great resource for all consumers to locate their unclaimed property. As always, DCA is here to help, and if there is anything we can do to assist, please reach out to Melissa Gear, Chief Deputy of Board and Bureau Relations. And that concludes my DCA update.
Thank you, Judy. I appreciate it. So I'm going to throw open this item for questions from our advisory committee meeting or our advisory committee members. Do any of the members have any questions for Judy?
No.
Okay.
I do. Anton Farnby. Good morning, Judy. Hey, I'm very interested to find out some more information regarding the department on the equity and inclusion work. We've gone through a process in my organization. We've been kind of in this transition for about 7 years, an intentional look through a different type of lens in terms of how we approach our work. I work for a union, and I just want, and I'm asking you, like, where can I find some additional information regarding what the state is doing on this topic?
Okay, so I'm going to point you to my boss, Melissa Gear, and if you could send her an email, I'm sure she'll be very quick to respond. We just started the steering committee yesterday, so as far as where information may be posted, she would have a better idea where to point you in the right direction. And I can provide you that email.
I can email you Melissa's information after the meeting.
Perfect.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Okay, you're welcome.
Any other questions or comments for Judy from committee members?
No.
Okay, I am going to throw it open to public then. Does any member of the public have any questions or comments for our DCA representative?
This is the moderator. The Q&A feature is now open. The instructions are on the screen for your reference. Members of the public, if you would like to participate, click on that question mark inside of a square, which is typically located at the bottom right corner of your WebEx screen, and then type comment in the text field that appears and make sure it goes to all panelists before hitting the send button. If you are calling in, you can raise your hand by clicking or pressing *3 from your phone. And those who are also logged in and cannot access the Q&A feature, you can raise your hand by having the participant panel open and hovering the cursor over your name. The outline of a hand will appear and simply click on that. So at this moment, there's no request for public comment. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Yes, please.
You.
All right, so moving on to agenda item number 4. I think, Carrie, if you want to advance the slides, there we go. It's Bureau Chief's introduction, welcome remarks, and Bureau updates. So I, as always, want to voice my appreciation for everybody, not just our community members who show up, but the members of the public who do show up. I feel every time we hold an advisory committee meeting, we get a little more public participation and a little more, and that's something that we strive for and something that I'm very excited about. We have over 20 attendees today from the public, which is nice. I think that's a new high for us on our virtual meetings and in our in-person meetings as well. We usually don't have that many. So I just want to say thank you to everybody who is showing up today. We have 2 openings in our advisory committee meeting. We have a public member opening, and we also have an alarm company opening, or alarm industry, rather. If anybody who hears this is interested in applying, please let me know. And we will reach out and start the process. Just so you know, the committee members are appointed by the director of DCA, and you can access the application through the DCA homepage, which is dca.ca.gov, and just do a search for BSIS Advisory Committee. Or you can reach out to me, lynn.jensen@dca.ca.gov, and I'll help guide you through that process of applying. We are busy implementing the new legislation that went into effect on January 1 and July 1. We have updates on that from it was supposed to be from our licensing deputy chief. She's out sick, so I am pinch hitting for Gloriella today. So I will be giving the legislative update and the regulatory update. And just so everybody knows, telework, it looks like it's pretty much here to stay. We here at the Bureau have since the beginning used a combination of telework and in-person work. We have a lot of information that cannot leave our offices, personally identifiable information, that sort of thing. So we really have to have in-person work, but we do sprinkle remote work in there when it is possible and when it makes sense and it is feasible. Our disciplinary hearings started up again in person earlier this year. They are going quite well. It is nice to see everybody in person. I personally prefer DRC hearings in person because you can see a lot more of the evidence, and they're a lot more apt to bring character witnesses, and it is a more robust process in person. So we started doing that earlier this year, and we will continue to do in-person DRC hearings. As always, there are 2 things that I always say every time I give a public speech, and that is to encourage everybody to apply online. Applying online cuts out a lot of the deficiencies because it will flag them for you before you submit your application. It cuts out a lot of the waiting, and it is all in all a faster turnaround time. I also encourage folks, instead of calling the numbers for the Bureau, to email us, BSIS at dca.ca.gov is our general email inbox. We encourage everybody to email again instead of calling, just because calling goes to the general DCA call center, whereas emails go straight to BSIS staff. So you're going to get an accurate answer, and in a lot of cases, it's going to be a lot quicker than calling. We have, on average, about 800 BSIS licensees who call the call center every day. And we're just one of the boards and bureaus that they do. So the phone lines get jammed, and quite often people can't get through. So strongly encourage everybody to email instead of call. Strongly encourage everybody to apply online. At this point, I'm done with the Bureau Chief update and want to open it up for any committee members' comments or questions. None? Okay, looks like I did such a great job. Nobody has any questions. Fabulous. Okay, so if no committee members have any questions or comments on the Bureau Chief update, do any members of the public have any comments or questions?
This is the moderator. The Q&A is now open. The instructions will be on the screen for your reference. If you would like to participate, click the question mark inside of the square, type comment, and send it to all panelists. You can raise your hand by pressing *3 if you're calling in, or simply hovering over your name and clicking on the hand of the outline that pops up. At this time, I see no request for public comment. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to our next agenda item. It's our licensing update. As I mentioned, Gloria Garcia normally gives that, but she has come down with something, so I will be giving it instead. All right, November 2022 licensing update. Starting August 2022, the Bureau has started accepting BRI's online renewals beginning 120 days from the expiration date instead of 90 days, which was previous. This expanded renewal period, so it goes from 4 months, it goes from 3 months to 4 months, right? So we're giving folks a little more time to renew. We're starting it out with just 2 license types: alarm company employees and security guard license types. If we have a good reception for those, we will expand it to other license types. It was a suggestion to allow for folks who, because it can take several weeks for folks to have their renewals renewed, their licenses renewed, especially if you're doing it by paper app. So we decided that was something that we were going to focus on. So hopefully we get a good reception for that, and then we can start expanding the renewal period for all of our other license types. We will be looking at statistics for 3 months to see if this is something that is beneficial to implement for our other license types. In the meantime, please help us disseminate this information to the industry about being able to renew as early as 120 days prior to the license expiration, specifically right now, just for alarm company employees and security guard licensees. We had a big bill passed last year. This was AB 830 by Assemblymember Heath Flora. It went into effect on July 1, 2022, and it mandates all alarm industry applications to be submitted online, no paper apps. The Bureau is still receiving paper applications. However, we will be phasing them out pursuant to the law in the near future. We are allowing a 6-month grace period where we will still take paper apps, but starting January 1, 2023, we will no longer take paper apps. If you submit them and they're paper, we will return them to you, and you will be responsible for any delinquency fees or initial or renewal fees that incur because you did not submit the applications in the proper format. So please ensure all alarm applications are submitted online, and please notify other industry members of this requirement. The Bureau's licensing program continues to recommend applicants and licensees include their email address on their Breeze account. So to do that, you set up your Breeze account initially, and then you fill out all the information required, including your email. BSIS now sends email notifications to our applicants and licensees, informing them when their license is issued, renewed, or eligible for renewal. So this is a good thing to have in the system. Additionally, if you are not subscribed to receive the Bureau's email updates, please do so. You can subscribe to receive these emails regarding website update, public meeting notices, agendas, proposed and enacted regulations, and other general Bureau news. And to do that, visit bsis.ca.gov, scroll down a little bit, and then on the right-hand side, you will see a button that says subscribe to BSIS email alerts. So next up, we're going to just briefly go through the licensing population by license types. I'll just cover a few of these because there's a lot. We've got over 20 license types. So as always, our security guard license type is our #1 population. Currently, we have over 300,000 security guards. Firearms permit is #2. We have over 40,000. Baton permit is #3. Got a big change about baton permits coming up in the legislative update, so stay tuned for that. We've got about 36,000 of those. Then you can see following that, we've got 2,700 private patrol operator licenses current. Private patrol qualified managers, we've got over 8,000. Then we also have alarm company employees. Right now, we've got 15,600 plus of those. And then private investigator qualified managers, we have 18,000 plus PIQM license types. And then finally, we also have BSIS principals. This we have over 46,000 of those. Okay, moving on to licensing data by license type. Online versus paper application. For the reason that I mentioned earlier, that online is faster, it's more accurate, it's just better in every way. We started to track this a while ago. Alarm company employees, we've got really good compliance with that, in large part because of the bill that was passed. So you can see the percentages of our license types that apply on paper versus online. So I would also strongly encourage people for your firearms permit to apply online. Again, that is a permit type that we see a lot of deficiencies on. And if you submit them online, a lot of the deficiencies will get caught. So I'm not really going to go through a lot of these, but well, yeah, Carrie scrolling through them so people can see. We have, I think, in all of our license types, I think we have the majority of people, even if it's a slim majority of folks applying online, except for PIs. PIs are our old school population. They prefer paper. So Frank, if you could spread the word to try and get folks to apply online, that, as I mentioned, is quicker. And that is a common complaint we get, is why are we taking so long with applications? A lot of times it's because the paper applications jump through several different hoops that online applications do not. And what are those hoops? For instance, if you send in a renewal with your check to our PO box, we don't pick up the mail. Our mailroom picks up the mail, and then they submit everything through cashiering. Cashiering then cashes your check. All of this is before we even get our hands on the application. Cashiering holds on to your application until they cash the check and get notice that it is cleared. Once your check is cleared, then they pass your application on to us. Just this one extra step can add anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks onto the processing of your paper application. If you apply and pay online, that whole step is taken out. So right there, you can see significant time savings. All right, moving on to summary of Breeze changes. You know, I went back and forth on including summary of Breeze changes in our sort of public speech template that we give. And I was at the security guard conference last month and ran into somebody who missed the presentation that we gave. And his number one question was, what's happening with Breeze? Like, what's new with Breeze? So, you know, bless his heart. I guess there is some interest there. We do work really hard on being responsive to issues that we have with Breeze. Keep in mind, though, that our IT team also services all the other DCA boards and bureaus, so we fight for time and resources with IT. So we can't implement changes as quickly and as thoroughly as we would like, but we do manage to get to them in a fairly timely manner, usually. Okay, so in July, AB 830, which was the big bill that mandated online only for alarm companies, you can do change of name application on BSIS online. This allows for new owners and officers to apply online. AB 830, change of address application on BSIS online. This also allows for new owners and officers to apply online. We added alarm company branch manager application on BSIS online. We now have our initial application for alarm company operator online. We also, for alarm company operator, we put change of address application on BSIS online, and this allows for the submission of an online request. You would not believe how many people forget to update us when they move, companies, individuals, and this causes a lot of angst with our licensees and with us. So make sure that, you know, if not just for alarm companies, but for all of our license types, if you move, change your address online. You can send in a paper change of address form. We can't take it over the phone and we can't take it on email. There's only two ways we can take change of address, and that is through a Breeze account and through our formal change of address form that we have on our website. We've also added a bunch of alarm company operator upgrades there. In August, as I mentioned earlier, we increased the renewal date to 120 days from 90 days for security guards and alarm company employees. In September, we switched renewal notices to postcard reminders for alarm company operators and alarm company qualified managers. The reason why we switched from the sort of coupon to postcard is this has been shown to prevent duplicate application submissions at the same time. And we also edited the private patrol operator initial application online to capture additional application requirements that previously needed to be written on the paper app and attached to it. So we allowed for online submission of those too. Last month, we updated our alarm company branch and locksmith company branch renewal notices to postcards and updated locksmith employee renewal notices to postcards as well. Moving on to outreach. Last month, as I mentioned, sorry, I guess this was October now, myself and the two deputy chiefs went to the annual Security Guard Association CalSaga conference. That was a lot of fun. It was good networking. We are happy to come to any gathering that your stakeholder group may have, even if it's small regional gatherings, small regional board meetings. We're happy to come answer questions. That seems to be a good value added that people have indicated that they like. We show up, we don't sort of overwhelm them with numbers and facts and figures. We try and save most of our time for Q&A sessions. Because that seems to be where the licensees and stakeholders, you know, want to settle, is they want to ask us questions about enforcement and licensing, and we're happy to show up. Okay, so that is the licensing update, and I would like to open it up for committee members' comments or questions.
Chief, Frank here. I have a
Yeah.
question. 18,000? I've never seen the number that high for qualified managers.
Yeah.
Could that be an error? I've always seen it level around 9 or 10,000 at most.
Let me check on those numbers and get back, but I know Sam has some insight on that, so I'm gonna throw the mic over to Sam, okay?
Okay.
Sam, for some reason, can't hear you. Still can't hear you. Nope, still can't hear you, unfortunately. Still can't hear you, Sam. Why don't you,
We can defer that, come back to
Yeah.
that. That's fine with me. It just seems I want to get that.
sure.
Okay.
Yeah, hang on, he's got his, let me see. I can see you, Sam, but I can't hear you. I can see your lips moving, but for some reason I can't hear you. That's okay. Sam can reach out to you afterwards, Frank.
Sure.
Okay.
And I will, and you're right. We're very old school in my industry. I will set another reminder to our members about renewing online. It's
Yeah.
sometimes like talking to a brick wall, but I'll do my best. I know when I renewed last year, I did it on Breeze, and I'm not exaggerating. I think I did it on a Sunday, and 2 days later on a Tuesday, my card was in the mail. I was
Yeah, and
absolutely
that,
amazed.
I will say that that is a common complaint we get from the PI population, that we take a really long time with their apps. And, the response that, part of the response that we give them is, if you apply online, it cuts off weeks. So yeah, I really can't emphasize that enough.
I'll keep trying.
Okay, appreciate it. I'll also mention that when I come to your annual conference or legislative day, whatever may come first there. Yeah.
Did we just hear Sam?
Is it working?
Oh, hey, yeah, it is working.
Yes, as usual, me and technology, we're not close. No, the number that Lynn read off was a qualified manager. So if you consider that, when you get the designation as a qualified manager, you're in the system basically for life at that point. You have that designation. So 18,000 would be probably the total throughout, who knows how long. The actual number that you would look at is the number of actual active PI licenses, which I think still sits under 8,000 or so, if I remember right. So the qualified manager number and even some of like the principal numbers, those may not seem as accurate in connection to the actual company license itself.
Okay, so even if somebody, if a license, a QM expires, it still stays on that number?
Because for PIs and for PPOs, the qualified manager is not its own separate license. It's just a designation. So once it goes in the system, it stays in there. So it doesn't expire because it's not its own license. So
Okay,
we
Okay.
know that you're only an actual QM when you're associated to a valid license.
okay. I've just never seen the number that high, so that clears it up. Thank you, Sam.
Because normally I think we wouldn't report the number that way. We would report the number of PI licenses.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a lifetime designation.
Makes sense. Okay, thank you, Sam. Thanks, Chief.
All right. Any other committee members have any other questions? Nope. Okay. All right, so then I will move to public comment and questions for this particular agenda item, licensing update.
Moderator, the Q&A is now open. The instructions will be on the screen for your reference. If you would like to participate, click on the question mark inside of the square, type comment in the text field, and send it to all panelists. You can also raise your hand, those who are calling in, by pressing *3, and those who are logged in by hovering the cursor over your name and clicking on the outline of a hand. I do have a call-in individual who would like to make a comment. I am going to set the timer, and if I can please confirm, the time limit is 3 minutes, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm going to send a request to unmute your microphone, call-in user 5. And actually, this might be the missing committee member. I've sent a request to unmute your microphone. And I went ahead and promoted to panelist. I believe this is the committee member. I'm going to send a request to unmute your microphone as well. If you can please identify yourself. There are no requests for public comment. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Yes, please.
Thank you. And we're still waiting for calling user 5 to unmute, and I'm sending unmute requests from my end.
Right, it's Nancy Murish, right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
It only
Okay.
gives me the 3 digits in the front. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna-
We'll assume the best and assume it's Nancy. Okay. All right, so moving on to our next agenda item, we have agenda item number 6, which is our update on the Bureau's enforcement unit. And that will be kicked over to Sam Stadolsky.
Well, assuming my microphone will work, right?
Yes.
All right, well, good morning, everyone. Just a few updates to let you make sure everybody's aware of. We are still recruiting DRC members. I know most of you should be aware we have 2 DRC committees for private security. We have a PI committee, a alarm, and a repo. For all of those, we're pretty much looking at needing applicants. So if you can let your associations know, get the word out. There's information on our website on where to go and how to apply for those positions. Quick update on the firearm assessment appeals. As I'm sure all of you are aware, we've kind of harped on this for quite a while, and the mass volume that we had and how that was hitting the Bureau's budget. As of this month, we're looking at about 37 pending appeals at the AG's office, which, if you remember back to February, we had 160. So those are slowly coming down. I imagine some of the ones that are still there, kind of some of the holdouts that still want to have an appeal instead of going and then starting the process over. Our complaint intake and complaint resolution unit, they've really been working a lot this year. They've been handling most of the incident reports that we've received. If you remember, AB 229 enhanced the reporting requirements. And so a lot of those coming in were medical restraint situations where there's not a lot the Bureau can do to look into those, but we still are processing them. We're still making sure the guards are in compliance. So just to give you an idea of what that looks like, 2019, we received, just in that calendar year, we received just slightly over 200 incident reports total. So far this calendar year, since January 1, we've received over 2,000 incident reports. So looking at that, there's about 462 of those incident reports that are still pending. Staff have done a really good job of working with the companies that are reporting, and looking at ways of being creative on our end and how we can best handle those and get them closed out and all of that. So that part's been going fairly well. We do anticipate with some of the changes that are coming up, those incident report numbers should start to come back down. We do anticipate, the new requirements for proprietary having to report that some of those also, it won't go down too far because we'll have a new population of people reporting to us. Looking at enforcement, one thing to note, we did have a couple retirements last month. 2 of our enforcement analysts retired, so we're in the process of working on getting those positions backfilled. Could take some time. I mean, obviously, recruiting, onboarding, training does take some time, so we're looking at juggling some of that workload and shifting it over to more folks to help out with that. Some of the things that we're looking forward to, I'm sure Lynn will go into it more in detail in the ledge report about AB 2515. One of the things that we're working on our end is getting the outreach stuff together to go out and actually educate. There's going to be huge changes for proprietary security. We're going to need to be able to educate folks on those. We're also looking at updating our own materials that we've provided for law enforcement, for folks out in the field, to kind of give them the landscape. There's been a lot of changes the last 2 years between AB 229 and now AB 2515. So we're really working on updating all that information so that we can get the word out there and get people educated, and also give law enforcement the tools they need in when they encounter security. So I think that's it for me. If anybody has any questions.
Sam, I missed the first part, and that was my fault. What you're short of PIs in the disciplinary review, was that it?
Our disciplinary review committees that we have, those individuals are appointed by the governor's office. We're always recruiting, I will say, because one of the things to keep in mind is when you apply, there's a process you have to go through with the governor's office. It can take a while there. We have people that will eventually term out. So it's always one of those things. It sounds weird to say we're always recruiting, but in reality, I think we are always recruiting for those. So we have all the information on the website and where to go and how to apply. There should be direct links over to the governor's office as well.
All right, I will put that out as well. Thank you, Sam.
All right, any other committee members with questions for Sam on enforcement? Okay, not seeing any. I'm going to throw it open for public questions and comments.
This is the moderator. The Q&A is now open. The instructions will be on the screen for your reference. If you would like to participate, click on the question mark inside of the square, type comment, send to all panelists. You can raise your hand by pressing *3 if you're calling in, or by hovering the cursor over your name and pressing on that outline of a hand. I see no requests coming in. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
I do see the call-in user 5 has the hand up.
Oh, that's in the panelist list. Yes.
Yeah.
Let me send a request to unmute that line. Call-in user. If you can please, once I send a request from your end, you should receive a prompt that says, that reads unmute me or stay muted. If you can click on unmute me.
Hi, this is Nancy Marish. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Nancy.
Great, great. I've been having trouble getting connected with the technology, but I just wanted to let you know that I was on the line and I joined about the time you were having trouble hearing Sam.
All right, thank you, Nancy. Welcome. I appreciate you
Okay.
making the effort to call in.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and Elizabeth, you said nobody from public had any public comment?
Correct. No one had any hands up or requests.
Okay, fabulous. All right, we will close that agenda item and move on to the next one. We have our legislative update, and I'm also including our policy budget update, and I will be presenting this one. Just a word, we had our policy manager, Antoine Hodge, present this for many years, and Antoine has moved on to greener pastures, unfortunately. So you're stuck with me. All right, policy administration update. Our staffing update, we have 73.4 permanent full-time positions in addition to temporary staff. As of August 1st, the Bureau is at a 17.7 vacancy rate, which equates to approximately 13 vacant positions. As always, we are working pretty much around the clock to fill all positions as soon as possible. We have had a spate of hiring recently, so I would hope and imagine that the vacancy rate has gone down a little bit. We're lucky enough to get some great people on board in the last month, so fingers crossed, those numbers look a little better. Speaking of numbers looking better or worse, as it may be, our fund update is not looking great for next budget year. Current projections show us in the red. If you look down on the table, you can see that we are projected to have a negative balance in budget year 23-24, which starts July 1, 2023 and runs through January 30th, 2024. By fiscal year plus or budget year +1, that number grows to almost 4 million. I'm going to spend a little bit of time on that just because that does initially look alarming. We have plans in place to address this shortage. Things are a little in flux right now because we had budget legislation go into place at the beginning of the year regarding the assessment. We were bleeding money defending the assessment, and things shifted around so that the burden of defending the assessment is no longer on us. It's a long story. If anybody wants more details, happy to give it to you. But essentially, that has been a significant budget plus. However, because of the way that budget numbers run, we're still showing a bit of a deficit. We also have legislation in place, which I will be going into detail in a few minutes, on new license types that is also expected to bring revenue to the Bureau. However, having said that, we are putting in motion plans to potentially raise fees. This is a long drawn out process. It can be a long drawn out process. There are a certain number of steps that you have to take before you actually raise fees. I'm pleased to say that a lot of those steps have been taken in previous years. So the process shouldn't be as long as it can be. But we will know more about our budget by the next advisory committee meeting in February. But that is to say that we are taking this potential shortfall seriously. We have plans in place, and we think we will have no issue with adjusting a number of things to make sure that we stay in the black. We're working with our budget folks in-house and over at DCA to make sure that everything continues to run smoothly. Moving on to legislative update. I'm going to mention a bill that wasn't initially on our radar last year, but I got a call from Post a couple of months ago, letting me know about Senate Bill 2. This was from 2021. This is a huge bill for POST, which if you don't know what POST is, it's the Commission on Peace Officer Standards and Training. These are the folks that basically set or have jurisdiction over how police officers are trained and in the state of California. And SB 2 was a big, huge bill for them. It set a lot of new requirements and powers for them to investigate and determine the fitness of people to serve as a peace officer in the state of California. Also allows POST to audit law enforcement agencies without cause at any time. So this will essentially double POST and their personnel, and it's a huge bill. And so then the question is, well, why are you talking about it? We're not police officers. But some of you have been, some guards have been deputized by local law enforcement agencies. And the question is, and this is still an outstanding question, are those guards who have been deputized, are they now liable under SB 2? And are they now answerable to POST? And again, that is an outstanding question. That is not something that we have a ready answer for. But I wanted to draw that to everybody's attention because this is a big deal. And there, as I mentioned before, we have, I can think off the top of my head, at least 6 entities that have been deputized by their local law enforcement agency. And whether or not this, subjects them to further liability is a question for, I think, lawyers to come out with. All right, moving on to this year's legislation, AB 2515 by Assemblymember Holden. This was another big bill on setting higher standards for the security guard industry and cleaning up some leftover items from AB 229 from the year before. The biggest one here, well, not the biggest one, but one of the big provisions is proprietary security guards. This, for the first time, will mandate certain provisions on proprietary guards that private security guards have had to follow. The most notable of these is the incident reporting requirements. Proprietary guards are now subject to the same reporting requirements to BSIS that private guards are. So if you have an altercation with a member of the public, you must report it. If you have, there's, I believe, six types of incidents that we outline here that you are now required, or proprietary will now be required to notify BSIS. So the other one under AB 2515 requires baton permits to be registered or issued by the Bureau instead of by baton training facilities. And these permits are now not lifetime permits anymore, but they are required to be renewed every 2 years, and there is a continuing education component to that. So previously, we would issue a stack of licenses to baton training facilities. They would train their folks, and then they would assign the baton licenses to the graduates of these, and those licenses were good for a lifetime. Now, even if you're a holder prior to this bill going into place, you will be subject to the same 2-year renewal cycle that everybody else will. It also clarifies that PSOs may not carry a firearm or any other deadly weapon, including electronic control device, stun gun, baton, or chemical agent, including pepper spray. We also had to put a delay in for some of the provisions on AB 229. We ran into a number of huge speed bumps while we were implementing our new powers to arrest and use of force training regulations. I won't go into details there, but we were able to get a 6-month delay on those provisions. So now they will be going to effect July 1, 2023 instead of January 1, 2023. So moving on to SB 1495. This was a committee bill run by the Senate Committee on Business and Professions. This bill requires PIs to report annually on any claims paid during the prior year calendar. This is liability insurance purposes, and it requires it requires us to do some stuff on our end too. I won't go through all the provisions of that bill, but one of the nice things about that is, oh no, that's the next bill. Okay, so then moving on to SB 1443 by Senator Roth, that extends our sunset for an additional year. We were up for sunset on January 1, 2024, and now we're going to be up for sunset on January 1, 2025, which is honestly good for us because we have a lot of other bills that we are busy and frantically trying to implement and draft regulations for. Our update on regulations, as I mentioned, we are working very hard on the power to arrest training and use of force training requirements per AB 229, which passed last year. It has been a beast. We have had, I think, at any given point, 5 members of our staff working on these regulations. And we are coming along nicely with them, but everything takes time in the regulatory world, a lot more time than you would think. So we should have those out for public comment sometime within the next 2 months. And if you subscribe to our email list, you will get the chance to comment on our new power to arrest and use of force training requirements. So another reason to sign up for our email blast. And then we are also beginning work on AB 2515. These require regulations, various provisions, and we are starting the rulemaking process on that. And one more that we just added last week that didn't have a chance to make it to this list is the potential fee increase regulations. And as always, you get the chance as the public to comment on all of these as part of the regulatory process. All right, that is it for my presentation on the policy unit, regulations, and legislation. Do committee members have any questions for me on those? Nope. Okay. Going once, going twice. All right, so then I will open it up for public comment for legislation, regulations, and policy.
This is the moderator. The Q&A is now open. Members of the public, if you would like to participate, the instructions are on the screen for your reference. You can click on the question mark inside of the square, typically at the lower right corner of your WebEx screen, and type comment in the text field that appears, and make sure you send that to all panelists. For those calling in, you can press *3 to raise your hand. If you're logged in, you can also raise your hand by hovering the cursor over your name and pressing on the outline of a hand to raise your hand. There are no current requests for public comment. Would you like me to close the Q&A?
Yes, please. All right, thank you so much. Let me see. Up next on the agenda, we have public comment on items not on the agenda. So what I will do first before I open it up to the public is to open it up to committee members. Committee members, do you have any comments or questions on items that have not been listed on today's agenda? All right, not seeing any. I'll open it up to public comment on items not listed on the agenda.
This is the moderator. The Q&A is now open. Instructions will be on your screen for your reference. Press that question mark inside of the square, type comments, send it to all panelists, or raise your hand by pressing *3 if you're calling in, or hovering the cursor over your mouse and pressing on the outline of a hand if you are logged in. No requests have been submitted. Would you like me to close the Q&A feature?
Yes, please. Thank you. All right. Okay. Agenda item number 10, committee members' recommendations for future advisory committee meeting agenda items. Anybody have any suggestions for next time?
Chief Frank Huntington here.
Yeah.
Two things. I'd like to maybe do a recap of our identification next meeting and just see if there's any new issues that came up, and also to discuss the quality of the IDs.
Okay, we'll put an agenda item on for IDs.
And the second thing is, and Sam and I have kind of touched bases on this. I and my industry are becoming greatly concerned, shall I say, about the number of law firms and attorneys that are actually doing investigations without being licensed investigators on the premise that they're being hired as an attorney when in fact they're not. They're being hired independently as investigators. I think this issue is somewhat unique to private investigators, as I don't think there are any other professions out there that try to use their license to come in to the other fields. So I'm not quite sure how we can address that, but I'd at least like to discuss it at the next meeting.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, as always, that this is unlicensed activity, right? So, if you're aware of it, I know in the past that you've sent it, you sent your concerns to us on specifics. Feel free to do that. Also feel free to, publicize this to your membership, to go straight to the file a complaint page on our website, and just submit your reports of unlicensed activity there. If we're not aware of it, we can't go after it. So
Right.
yeah. Mhm.
Thank you. Thanks, Chief. Thanks, Sam.
Okay. All right. Any other committee members have any suggestions for agenda items? Okay, seeing none. All right, unless anybody has anything further. Nope, one last chance, speak now or hold your peace for another 4 months. Nope. All right, guys. Okay, well, thank you very much for attending today's advisory committee hearing. Really appreciate it. And as always, if you have any questions in the meantime, you know how to get a hold of me. Please feel free to email me, Gloriella, or Sam at any point. Okay, the meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Take care.
Bye. Have a good day, everybody.
Thanks, Mark.